Could I have Carolyn's, is it Syddall, and Jocelyn Pepperell?
Kia ora. I'm submitting on behalf of both myself, Caroline Syddall, and my partner, Jocelyn Pepperell.
Okay,
We
thank
can't make
you.
it today. Tēnā koutou katoa. This proposed plan is for an enormous task with completing priorities and limited resources, but it's also part of the blueprint for Christchurch's future. This is the opportunity to build a better city and a more effective community, and to me that's a really important thing. The plan is titled Smart Choices. To me, smart choices are those that lead to a socially and environmentally sustainable city, a city that can adapt to the environmental risks that we already know about, and that can do a better job of responding to human needs than we've been doing recently. It's the small projects and small businesses that have kept the centre of the city alive since the quakes and created places for people to come together, and its neighbours and the many small organisations, many of which we've just heard from recently, that continue to support many people through these difficult times. This is the model we need to use for redeveloping our city: small scale, organic and community focused. I strongly support developing public transport, safe walking and cycling routes in an accessible city. I would like to see these as the drivers for transport decision making, not as add-ons. We need the planning and infrastructure that normalises foot, bike and public transport, that makes it normal again, because it has been in our past, in our early past. We need sufficient investment in public transport, cycling, walking infrastructure and accessible design, and we need to get away from the dominance of the car. This is essential for Christchurch to be sustainable both in face of increased fuel costs and to be an attractive and safe place both for residents and for visitors. Social housing. For Christchurch to be an inclusive city, we need to continue to provide social housing. This is a moral imperative, I believe, to support the vulnerable of the city, but it's also a matter of enlightened self-interest. If we have people who feel disconnected from our city, who don't feel a valued part of it, they become expensive, both in terms of cost of things like crime and also health. They are part of our city, we need to support them. In terms of council facilities, in general I support smaller local facilities over mega facilities, facilities that are accessible, reachable by foot or public transport, the sort of facilities in fact that would be more accessible to the over 65s, a group that the document comments underuses rec centres and pools. And I think if we look at the models that are happening in retirement complexes now, we've got small scale, local and apparently popular facilities for those people. I think we can build a public version of that. We can have local small scale public facilities, and we can do the same for youth facilities and provide places for people to come together in the centre of the city. I think that things like the Pallet Pavilion, Dance and Mat are examples of small organic things that work really well in this community. They bring the community together, they make it a place of celebration. I don't see many of the anchor projects as a crucial part of our economic and social recovery. I think that's been somewhat oversold. I think we can put off indefinitely the former AMI Stadium and the Performing Arts Centre if we focus on the Town Hall instead. And I think we can scale back, delay or build in stages the multi-sport facility, the convention centre, car parking and possibly even the central library. In terms of funding, I believe the Council should argue hard with the Crown for more central government funding and to prioritise what the people of Christchurch want prioritised, not what the 100-day plan came up with. I appreciate that this may be a difficult task, but I believe that you, the Council, need to keep representing what we, the people, want to central government. And the Share an Idea process gave a pretty clear vision of what the people of Christchurch wanted. And it's very different from what the 100-day plan has come up with, in my view. I don't support selling off income-generating assets, particularly not to fund potentially non-income-generating assets or even potential liabilities. And while I think some degree of rate rise is acceptable and probably inevitable, I think the proposed rise of about 8% is probably more than many ratepayers here can stand. Now, we made a suggestion about raising funds for a municipal ownership cooperative, where effectively residents purchase shares in parts of the city businesses, and within an agreed time frame, the council buys them back. So you own those assets for a while, get the return from them, which of course means the council wouldn't get return from that period, but they haven't transferred permanent to private ownership, and they haven't transferred out of the city. And I also see that as a way of involving people in the city. Potentially, if you had 50,000 households buying $5,000 worth of shares, you'd have 250 million. That might not happen, but it'd be a good start if it did. With limited funding, we need to look hard at our priorities. This is not the time for grand plans or many of the proposed anchor projects. We need to focus on supporting community initiatives and organisations, on stage development, and on smaller human-scale facilities and community wellbeing. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Questions? Phil?
Thank you very much. You referred to some issues for our city, like a concern about available housing. I just wondered, what were your view about any council role, say, in supporting housing for the people who are homeless?
About supporting housing for the homeless, I think it's essential. I think a community that doesn't look after its most vulnerable is a very poor community indeed. I think the homeless are part of the people with housing needs here.
Thank you.
I think we need to start from basic human rights, and housing for everyone is a basic human right.
Okay. Yanni?
I note that you've made a number of comments around the stadium, and I know that a scoping study has been completed, but I'm not sure that it's been made public. Would it be useful for us to ask the government to make these sorts of studies available to the public so people can see the rationale, the business case, the options?
I think that would be very useful. I think the information that's being fed out is pretty partial at the moment, pretty incomplete. Yeah.
Can I just ask, the concept of selling shares temporarily, it's sort of a preference bond, is that what you're advocating? So that you can buy them back?
Yes, the ability for I suggest that the council it would be imperative the council buys it back. That would be you would know that when you bought them, that you were buying them for a 10, 20 year period.
So it's really a loan, but it's not really
Effectively.
it's not taking on debt, it's giving up equity temporarily.
Yeah. So I'd be investing in what currently council-owned assets for a short time, and I would know the council would buy them back from me.
It'd be similar to renting out the asset to someone else for a period of time and then taking back the ownership.
Somewhat similar. I believe that some football stadiums in Britain use that model.
Yeah.
And it kind of brings the community into the ownership as well.
Can I just thank you for a very well thought through suggestion?
Pleasure to read.
It was. Thank you very much.
Thank you.